Willard is a 2003 American horror film written and directed by Glenn Morgan, starring Crispin Glover, Laura Elena Herring, Jackie Burroughs, and R. Lee Ermey. Welcome back to the Cult of Films. I'm John, the host, and I am joined by Chris from Bad Movie Night, and, it's just Daggers. Mr. Stefan from Cannibal Video. What's up, guys?
Oh, living the dream. Love talking rats.
Love talking rats. So this is going to be a fun night, Stefan, because I think that you and I have seen this movie, and we didn't really talk about if you liked this movie or not, but we have a Willard rat bastard virgin on this episode. Chris, you have never seen Willard.
No, and I love rodents. I am a guinea pig enthusiast, as many people know, and this movie affected me in a certain way, and we'll get into it later today. Well, probably this evening, maybe in this episode. We'll find out, okay? Lot to unpack here.
Do you want to see what's in the bag, you stupid little dog?
Well, let's stay with you. What's your initial thoughts on Ratatouille 2, George McFly's Day Off?
All right, so my initial thoughts when I was watching it was that this was like a Tim Burton Batman villain, origin story. With like budget Danny Elfman soundtrack. I never saw this because I didn't realize it was this kind of like big budgety mainstream kind of thing. Sure. I thought it was a low budget independent horror movie. Crispin Glover.
Ted! Hey, Ted, where the hell's corkscrew?
Not the biggest fan, but I think he works pretty well in this. It was interesting. I think it's really well made. I wasn't exactly empathetic to Crispin Glover's plight the whole time. I got upset that they killed a rat. I don't care about the cat. I saw people talk about, oh, they killed a cat. I don't care about the cat. I care about the rat. Overall, it's not a bad movie. Yeah. I'll unpack more, but yeah, that's my...
Yeah, initial thoughts, for sure. I do think it is funny, though, kind of jumping into it for a second, that, everyone, like, collectively held their breath, just like, oh my god, don't kill the Pomeranian, but it was okay to just, like, wax the cat, like, no one cared.
Yeah.
I am such a cat person, not a dog person. I wanted that.
I am a rat
thing
person.
To get eaten. You're a rat person. Stefan, did you see this movie in the theater, or did you see
I
it
saw
more
this on the
recently?
new release shelf when it came out to rent in like late 2003, and
Nice.
I enjoy the movie. I think it's a fun movie. There's a lot of stuff happening in this, but it's ultimately like kind of my least favorite horror genre, the sad movie horror. Like,
It is a little sad
and
bastard.
like I'm not a big sad movie guy, and like maybe this won't be sad for everybody. It's how you take things, but there's a lot of just sad elements going on that we'll unpack more throughout this thing here. I like Crispin Glover. I think he's a weird bastard, but he puts a lot of cool stuff on screen.
That's it for you, Ben! I hate you! I love Socrates, but I hate you!
I think that overall, like this Tim Burton look of everything, the sets are really cool and dark. From like his job to his house, it has this like just really dank, awesome look to it that you don't get enough anymore. I think too many remodelings are happening to these old awesome buildings. But no, it's fun. A lot of actual rats, which they're CGs too, but there's a lot of practical rat here, and that's good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a remake, sequel, reboot of Willard from 1971, which was an adaptation of the 1968 novel, The Ratman's Notebooks. And I say sequel loosely, mainly because there's a fun little Easter egg of the cameo of the original actor that played Willard back from the 1971 version. Bruce Davison, who played Willard in the original film, is only pictured as his father. Whenever Willard's looking at pictures of his family, that's Bruce Davison. So I almost wish they kind of went more that route, where it actually was kind of a sequel, and it would make it even, I guess, more sad. So maybe you wouldn't like it, but I I would have found that a little bit more tragic if this is just like a thing, like a generational failure of this family, and maybe it was like, like a Ratcatcher 1 and 2 type deal where the father had all these rats and shit, and that's why it drove the mom nuts, and that's why she became Zelda from Pet Sematary essentially. I can't think of anyone else that I would have rathered play this role, because no one else was going to do it this straight. If this would have been Tim Burton, it would have been Johnny Depp, and it would have been Johnny Depp like hamming it up, and I think it would have lost. It would have been a completely different movie if that happened.
I could see Sam Rockwell really knock this out of the park.
I love Sam Rockwell. I don't even think he's that intense though, and because Sam Rockwell has that aloofness about him where he would just he would get into it, but
he's too likable. Crispin Glover is fucking weird.
He's not likable at all. Who's the least person you want to end up on like an elevator with? It's probably Crispin Glover.
In real life or in character, yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I definitely.
Crispin Glover, most famous for, I guess, Back to the Future.
Oh, for sure.
Series, but I guess most famous for something that he did out of off the big screen was when he went on Letterman. Did you guys see this interview?
No.
Some movie came out, and he came out in like a wig and some like heels, and just like really he looked like he was strung out. Like started reading critic things to Letterman, and Letterman didn't know if he was joking or not. Like it's all up on YouTube. Like, got up and started like air karate kicking Letterman, and he almost kicked him in the face. Letterman literally walked off the set.
He has a big law thing too. Didn't he change how like likeness rights are ruled after he was not in one of the Back to the Futures and they used him anyway? Mm-hmm. So like,
yeah,
he's pretty famous in many circles, not just the rats.
He was ScarJoing it before it was cool. This is definitely like a cult film, but I don't feel like it's one of those like beloved. It's not like The Warriors or something that just like jumps out. It's not like a beloved first pick cult film, but it does have its following. Why do you think? I don't know. Why do you think that is, Chris?
Oh, because it's about being a depressing loser and nobody likes you. And I'm like, that's me. But then he's fucking weird. So like, and I don't like everything he does. For one, there is Socrates, the nice white rat, and then there's Ben, the large rat. And he's been treated so poorly by everyone in his life, but then he does the same thing to Ben. And I get that's kind of the point of the movie, but it doesn't make me endeared to him. I was never really that empathetic to him because he was weird the whole time and like in a off-putting kind of way. Even to like the young woman who is the temp, she's immediately nice to him and he like ignores her. Like every little moment that he could have like shown like he's also like a likable person who gets downtrodden upon and like shit on, they don't bother to do. So it was like, okay, I'm like a fly to this whole scenario watching it happen, as opposed to being like, oh yeah, Crispin Glover, he's relatable to me because he's sad and depressing and I want him to succeed. I never really wanted him to succeed. I just thought he was going to turn into this crazy murderer, and he sort of does, but not in enough of a way that I thought it was going to go.
He creates a rat genocide, Chris.
True.
Yeah.
True. But I thought it was going to be like, I guess my expectations were like, oh, this is like the Pied Piper kind of thing, and he's going to like lead these rats to kill a bunch of people and shit, and something's going to go down. Never really goes that way. This was much smaller of a movie than I was expecting.
Yes.
Like it's like two locations essentially.
Yeah.
That's why it's not this fond memory for a lot of people. It's not this. Sure. There's not the brutal kills. There's not this guy taking on the spree where he takes down everybody, because that could have gotten a lot of people behind it, because it could have been amazing kills, a lot of setups, and how do you do this? And it's not a character that you're like, oh, I see myself as that person, or even a character that has rally moments. They're kind of not likable throughout the whole thing, from the beginning to the end.
What an awful name, Willard. If you had a stronger name, that Frank Martin wouldn't push you around.
It's not a movie that I'm like, I have to rewatch this every couple of years to get my Willard fix.
I want to disagree a little bit, because I do see why that. I agree with you guys that that's probably why, or what held it back from becoming more not only financially successful, popular to a massive audience, but also to like, gaining more of a cult following. But I think in a lesser movie, you're gonna have, like I said, you were gonna have that Johnny Depp role, or like an Adrian Brody or something, you know, someone that's like has that, if not, I mean, you still have them be menacing, but have that like likability to them.
Yeah.
It factor.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like Pratt in here.
Oh.
But Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt, not muscular.
The chubby
Chris
one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that, see, that's like a chubby thing. It would be very endearing.
Not Christian Pratt.
I have to applaud this for being at least different, because it is a fucking total mess. You don't know what to feel, because half the time, like at first, the first like 20 minutes, you're kind of laughing at it, because at least for me, I thought it was a joke. I thought this was kind of I thought we were all in on a joke here, but then he just won't stop crying, and it's just shit keeps happening to him, and it's like constantly watching someone like steal a kid's lunch money.
Oh, you don't like that? Then quit. Act like a man for once in your life and just quit! You're a slimy, pukey piece of shit. You wouldn't make a pimple on my grandmother's tooth.
Yeah. So it is very unfun. However, I felt fun in that because it was just that much different from everything else I saw.
He starts to go down that spiral where he loses his sanity in some way. And that scene where he's like, tear it. I'm like, okay, I'm not on board with this anymore. You
tear it.
Tear it, Socrates.
Tear it.
Tear it up.
Yeah.
It got weird and it just went on and it was creepy. But this movie ends in a way that's not like uplifting. It's kind of dark.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can see the not mainstream appeal there. But I did think when I was watching it, I was so shocked by those intro credits. I was like, oh, I thought there's money in this. I didn't think there was that much money in this. So it comes off as like, oh, this is a really polished, mainstream, decently budgeted movie. That's... Yeah, I could see why it wouldn't reach the mainstream audience, though.
A commercial full of rats in America, too, is not necessarily going to reach the widest demographic. Because, if your horror movie, which, is typically a date night movie, it's something, but when the girl goes, I don't want to fucking see that, you're like, well, I guess I'm not seeing that movie. So I could see that hurting its commercial, viability.
Well, and the early meme was no fast food company was like, hey, I want to be featured in the movie Willard. No one wanted to be like have the rat movie attached to their name. So Glenn Morgan, he hasn't directed a lot of films. This was his debut film that he helmed, but he's got like a buddy, James Wong. They're the two that are responsible for the Final Destination franchise, essentially.
Oh, sweet.
James Wong directed like 1 and 2. Glenn Morgan was the one that wrote, I think, if not all of them. He at least came up with the initial thing for it. So he came from like X-Files. He was more of a TV guy. Now he's more of like an executive producer. So, but as far as that goes, like how it's shot and everything, I feel like it's a really competently made film.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. This got him that Black Christmas money, but
yeah. Oh yeah, he did.
He only does horror remakes,
Yeah. If you got a type, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the cast, Arlie, Ermey, just it's weird seeing him not in a drill sergeant getup.
And the hair throws you off too.
I liked when he was looking at old ladies naked on the internet.
Didn't seem like he did that intentionally. He was like, and then clicked the same other image like 3 times.
And then he went down that hole we all go in, which is apparently an old lady hole. We've all been there.
I think the bonus is you see like the slowly snapping into like the images as they load, and I'm like, oh, thank God we don't do that anymore. Like, so there's some things that take you back and remind you how good we have it in this.
Even after they buffered, you had the pixelated boobs too, because that was the thing where it's just like, this movie was okay with showing like murder and animal murder, but it wasn't okay with showing, old lady boobs on the computer.
They're pretty restrained, though, in all their murdery things. Like, because you don't see the cat die. Even when he dies, he's just surrounded with things. Like, there's minor cuts. Like, nothing really gets shown. Even when Ben gets injured, it's kind of off screen. So like, I could see them shying away. They might have been aiming for that PG-13. Because honestly, I think
it is PG-13.
Oh, is it PG-13? Okay, so they aimed and hit successfully. But I think that's a better demographic, because I think kids, especially young boys, are like, rats, That's cool, and that's who you're aiming for. So you need that PG-13 money.
That's what the old lady porn was for as well, for those kids.
Hey.
I will say I like the fairy tale. I mean, and that's the Tim Burton thing, but it feels out of time, even though it's supposed to be, I think, like the 90s or something.
Mm-hmm.
But because of his house and because of the way the business is structured, there's other movies that do that aren't Tim Burton. But you know what I'm talking about? It's like this weird.
It's got like an Edgar Allan Poe like filter on it.
Yeah, it's just it's unrealistic, but I like that aspect about it. It brings you into the fairy tale thing because it's never really explained at all how he's able to communicate with these rats.
There's minor training involved, which
Training, yeah.
A lot of that stuff is like that is kind of breeze past because he feels like, especially in that first one, he fills that suitcase. One has like 20 rats in it, and the other one has Ben.
Yeah,
and just the idea that he doesn't notice differential there, and like Ben gets in there, he goes, Ben, you can't get in there. No one else will be able to fit. Ben goes in, 4 go out. I go, how big do you think Ben is? Put him in your pocket, you dumb bastard.
I know. He wasn't even that much bigger. I felt so bad for Ben the whole time.
Well, when I say it's a sad movie, it's sad for Ben. Ben is the one I care about. Ben, like yes, I can feel for our boy there and like what he goes through and how life kind of shits on him. But he also made his bed in a lot of these scenarios. So a lot of that is him. You keep showing up late for work. Yeah, you're gonna get fired. You do poorly at your job. They're not gonna respect you. Like all this stuff. Yeah, that's on you, bruh. What did Ben do? Ben was there. Ben was your boy. Ben had your back. Ben did the most.
The problem was
lifting.
Ben is him. He was the allegory for Willard.
Ben is what he wishes he was. Ben is the
I
alpha
feel like
male.
Socrates was. Oh, well, yeah. I think he romanticized Socrates so much because he was the one that stood out. He was the one that looked different from everyone else.
Oh, it's just a racist thing. It's because he's white.
Yeah, because Socrates was white. Exactly. No, but he was like sweet but he also was leading the pack. There was that like struggle, and it seemed like the white rat had more diplomacy skills than Ben, because Ben was just like James Gandolfini rat, right? Like he was just ruling by an iron.
I think a lot of that gets put onto Socrates through Willard's eyes, because he's like, oh, he's the smartest one. He's the blah blah. He's the only one that got stuck in the fucking trap. He's not that fucking smart. He's a stupid rat. Like, you're putting that on him. He's weak. He needs help. You're weak. You need help, and you're trying to build this guy up. But Ben, that's your goddamn boy. Ben could take a tire out on his own self. Like, Ben, what the fuck kind of rat is that? That looks like one of those ones from like South Africa, like the Tex mines in the Philippines or whatever. You're like, what the fuck?
It is.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's an African pouch rat or whatever. Yeah,
that's
they're
hysterical.
It's like more marsupial than a rat.
Yeah, those giant ass things. They're kind of cool. But yeah, like he's so fucking violent with this thing. He's constantly like throwing it down the stairs. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? It's an animal.
I know, and that's why I was like losing interest in Willard. I don't know. This movie,
Were you bored at all?
So
Chris?
that's what I was getting at. I was waiting for like the bigger conflict to present itself that never really comes. It's like, Willard, you suck at your job and Arlie Ermey's gonna fire you or whatever, and then he fires you. Then you kill him. Okay, and that's where the movie got interesting and really I thought was gonna like it should have started, and then he starts to go mad and overuses his rat power or something. Something like that is kind of what I was expecting, and as it slowly plotted along, I was like, oh, it's just this more character study. But then by the end, this character study doesn't really reveal a poignant message to me, besides the fact like, I don't know, Willard's depressed and sad and treated poorly, but then he becomes insane and murders someone with his rats, and now he's in a mental asylum.
Absolute rat power corrupts absolute rat whatever.
Apps are cheesy.
But a lot of these kind of movies where it's like the downtrodden person, you want them to succeed and overcome. That's the hero's journey, the hero's arc, the classic storytelling method. And this is just, it doesn't do that. So
this is the villain's journey. This is the Rat King from Ninja Turtles.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. This is more the villain's journey. So then at the end, we need Batman to come in or some shit.
Right.
And I'm like,
it ends with a villain stinger, right? It's just like,
it's
like learn anything.
It's like the Joker or whatever. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, now that I think in retrospect, how many shit actors did we get for the Joker? And we had Crispin Glover sitting there the entire time.
But the Joker is different because it does have an overall message about society, and you do feel in some ways empathetic to him. not his actions, right? And you're like, okay, yeah, society helped create this monster. But Willard just is a monster for the most part. So it's like,
but I think if we had 17 more versions of Willard, by the end it would be this is a society moment. Like the Joker didn't start out that way.
No,
we evolved him into that. So I think that could happen. The Rat King Turtles, I always thought that was a fun character, and this is that, just not buff and not wearing like layers of like spandex or whatever, but he's doing his thing here. I do hate that he always wears a suit. I don't understand. Like, he seems to be like on his day off, he's out of work, he's doing things, always in his goddamn suit. No matter what he's doing, he's like cleaning, he's doing this, he's in a fucking suit.
It's making him odd. Yeah, they're making him odd.
He looks like the Penguin from Gotham.
Yeah, he looks like Penguin from Gotham.
Yeah,
he is a victim, right? Like, his mother is terrible. He came from this history of abuse and whatever, and so. But, you know, a lot of people would kind of mold and do better for themselves from that. You know, that forges some people, but that also creates, you know, devils and demons to other people. And again, I think in a lesser movie, he would have learned that. Instead, he's such a selfish, petulant child in this movie where he gets to a certain point and the rats basically do the human growing up for him. And he's like, okay, it got me to this point where now I could ask this girl out for coffee or to dinner. I don't need the rats anymore. Now I'm going to kill them. Like, I'm going to... That's just such a shitty arc, but that's what I appreciate, because there is no good in him. He is such a pile of shit, and the movie never... It lets you feel bad for a little bit until he just keeps committing these atrocities over and over again.
I didn't see that arc, though. I didn't think he asked her out. She was basically on him since day one.
She did it for him, but that's consistent to his arc. Because he won't, he's never I'm going to take charge, I'm never going to show up to work on time until you literally fire me, and then I'm just going to beg like a child for my job back. Which is kind of a weird scene, because if anything, it looked like he hated his fucking job, but he just wanted to keep the house. But then when he's confronted with that, where he's just like, "Oh, I'll sell you the house, but give me my job back," I didn't really.
Why did he want the house so much?
Well, that's where he lives. He has nowhere else to go, and if he loses the house, because it seemed like to the bank, he's literally going to lose the house regardless. So his options were to sell and try to recoup a little bit of money, or lose it outright. And the fact that the man seemingly has no skills at all and can't even do the job that he got nepotism into, I think he's so scared he won't really get another job that he's like, okay, if I can get a little money from selling the house and I can keep my job, then I'll have everything, or whatever. But he seems to have nothing. I think the ending I would have preferred would be, instead of having him in like the insane asylum with a new rat and starting over, it would be at his desk at work and someone's like, Willard, and the whole thing was a dream, because the whole thing feels like a dream. Why is this beautiful girl talking to him? Why is anything happening? Why are rats magically listening to him? It's all so fantastic that it would be the only scenario that I would be like, yeah, I'd like this to be just it's all a simulation, like, type of thing.
So he's like a kid in the padded room the whole time, or type deal.
Anything but what we got, because yes, there's no explanation for how it actually worked, because they understand words. It's not just like trained instructional things. It's abstract concepts, like go in there and do this, like random stuff.
Especially Ben with like telepath powers, right?
Yeah, Ben's just so smart, big brain.
I like the drabness for whatever reason. Like I said, you've just seen that anti-hero story so many times that it just felt a little bit refreshing, albeit a little bit depressing, to finally just be tethered to an asshole the entire time.
I like the nihilistic endings. I don't have a problem with that. It just wasn't a satisfying one. Like, I just watched Possessor again because I love that movie. It's a very nihilistic ending, but it's also very satisfying to me. This just felt a little unsatisfying, I guess.
I would have liked some flashbacks with Senator Kelly and his mom when they were young, like doing their thing.
Yeah, I do remember him as just the guy from X-Men that turns into goo.
Senator Kelly for the rest of his life. That's what I will call him.
They straight up just ripped off Zelda, right, from Pet Sematary, like the mom. That's such a horrible scene.
A little less hot, though.
Because of her fever, right?
Yeah, it's a fever.
Yeah.
She got the fever.
Yeah.
So how do you think she actually died? Did she like open the door to the basement, see all the rats, have a heart attack, and just fall down the stairs? Or do you think that like Ben like tripped her? Like, because it seemed like the moment they knew that the only reason they're staying in the basement was because they can't be seen, it's like, all right, yeah, kill her and we can do whatever we want. Or did she just die of fright? Because it seemed like, she was old enough.
Well,
and
when Ben goes back downstairs, he like turns and he like bites her a little bit.
Yeah, and you got to think that just happened. That's not scripted.
Know,
like, you can't be like, hey, rat, go bite her a little.
So good.
See, and that's a horrific image, right? Like, you see this like frail woman laying face down, and then like rats are just kind of like running, and there's like a tight shot of her, and there's like rats.
Oh yeah.
So there's some really good image. Even the ending, like the crescendo of the film, where you see him kind of fall. He does the whole golem thing. He falls in Mount Doom, but it's Mount Rat.
Mount Rat. Yeah.
That was kind of dumb. But like the silhouette of him murdering, it's very Alfred Hitchcock. The decisions, the filmmaking decisions, and the shots were really cool. Like, there was some really cool stuff in here.
Visually, yes, but I'd say script-wise, that doesn't work for me. Him falling into the rats, there's no way he makes it out of there. The second he hits the ground, he is swarmed and dead. And he got out of there with just the marks that Ben left on him. He didn't get any new marks. I'm like, come on, man. He should be like half dead.
That's where the scene needed to go on and be like, reveal like Ben's dead, so now they're gonna follow him again or something.
Oh no, I'm breezing past that moment. I'm saying he should never even be able to get up to Ben again after falling into the pit. Yeah,
sure.
But that's probably what happened. Is Ben's the alpha, you're the alpha now. Like, I could see that working. But his whole business of like, I have to kill the rest of this thing, it's so dumb. His onward struggle against Ben. I'm trying to kill him. Oh, I can't kill him. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's in my briefcase. I could just put this in water and he would be dead. Like, but he doesn't.
Why?
It's just irrational. It's a racism, really.
Racism, I believe is what's
racism.
But it's frustrating.
Well, I want to know, why did the rats already know that they want to kill Willard just because he left? So these rats are so...
Well, he bricked them into the elevator, didn't he?
Well, yeah, but he fed them, and for all intents and purposes, he was giving them food because he was letting them eat a person, and then he just leaves. It wasn't like he was outwardly trying to be violent towards them or whatever, so he just goes home and then they...
Did I miswatch that part? I thought that he bricked over the elevator shaft when he left.
Wait,
he does brick over...
I thought he was bricking over the wall in the basement so they couldn't...
That's what I thought. That's very... Yeah, it's not very clear.
Okay,
so.
I might have misinterpreted that. A lot of what he did there is crazy stuff. I'm like, why did he nail the door shut? They don't open the door. That's not how rats maneuver. It only screwed you, and that's another like just bad writing thing.
Yes.
Like, you could have just been like, oh, there are rats in front of the door. I can't go that way. He's like, I have to go the extra mile. Or like patching up like... that's the way you do it. Like, you put steel wool or anything metal in a rat hole so they can't get back through. But the fact that we see these rats in a mere seconds rip through a garage door, I'm like, they can just make another hole, jerk.
Yeah,
there's no the wall at that point. Like, is not safe. Like, you can't patch walls.
And if Ben's so far advanced, he's like, okay, move 2 feet over and go through there. So
yeah. Ben's a goddamn monster. I really do like Ben. I could get me one of them giant marsupial rats and have a party.
Dude, that moment where they killed, what's his name? Socrates.
Oh, that is the word I was going to use.
I did not like that.
This is Becky, coming to join you.
It's so vicious. Like, who would do that? Like, the way he attacks it, like, I don't, and I worked as an exterminator. Never would I in my life think that like it's not needed. Like, if you're gonna be attacking bluntly, you don't stab wildly. Like, a tiny tap is all it takes. Their head is this big.
Oh. Not Ben's. Ben would take.
Oh, like Ben needs a bazooka. Yeah.
and again, another portrayal of Willard just being such a bitch during that. Like, that is his avatar, right? And he's just sitting there whimpering, just, what was I supposed to do? And then he's like, and then he turns and looks at Ben. He's like, what are we gonna do? Like, do it for me, because he's such a bitch.
That could have been a much better turn moment, where that could have been where, okay, Ben is now my boy. I turn to just violence. Socrates was my goodness. I've just a devil on my shoulder, and it's like all out murder. And that's what you want. And we get one. It should have been, oh, we're going to murder everyone in the office. And then accidentally, pretty girl gets murdered. And he's like, no, what have we done? Ben! And then that should start the fight between the rats.
I wrote that down when I was watching it, that, oh, is Socrates the angel and Ben is the demon, and he's going to have to choose a side. And you're right. That would have been I think that would have been a better ending. But, yeah, it is what it is. Chris.
There's like 4 different ways to write this better.
Yeah. And hindsight's 2020. It's a lot easier to critique someone's mistake and go where you should have gone right than it is to just write it from the jump. But this is also working off of a blueprint to begin with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Have you seen the original? Anyone?
I saw it like forever ago, and I couldn't tell you a damn thing about it.
Different about it. Okay.
I saw it on
read
like
about it,
TV in probably like the 90s.
Oh, inspired by that Pied Piper kind of story, or no?
It was an original.
In a
work.
roundabout
It was
way, I think everything
Yeah.
is inspired by that like 13th century story. But yeah.
Laura Alina Herring, man, this is only the second weirdest movie I've ever seen her in because she's also in Mulholland Drive. I really like her. She was in stuff in like the early 2000s, like late 90s, and then she just kind of wasn't anymore. I think she was like Miss Universe or something, but she has a little bit more to do in Mulholland Drive, which is one of my favorite films. But yeah, it's just like, but I think they came out like 2 years apart too. So she was, David Lynch's Colin and this rat weirdo, like she was really carving a career for herself.
Oh, I got my phone's ringing. Oh, it's the rat weirdo. Hello?
Do we know how this performed? Did it do well?
I don't think so.
It made $8 million. I think it had a $7 million budget. So you're flat, so that's never where you want to be. The book and the original film got a sequel called Ben.
Yeah, Ben's the one
and
that I think of more, I think.
Yeah, in 1971, I mean, Ben came out in, I think, 1972, so the original film outperformed the remake for sure, like, relative to the times. Mm-hmm. So people really like this. This was maybe not like, it's not Star Wars or anything, but it was like a beloved story, a beloved, IP, so to speak.
Crispin Glover action figure, everything could have been different.
Oh. What are you playing with? I would rather you be playing with a Barbie, Joey. No.
When his mom's like, "What's that?" "Oh, it's cooking oil." "Oh, Willard."
I know, I'm never going to do anything like that.
Well, what is that on your hand?
It's soap.
It's cooking oil! Oh, Willard, you're too old for that.
Such a random,
Oh,
horrible.
God.
She's like, "You're too old for that."
Yeah. Mom, you're never too old to have fun.
Cooking
What?
oil, though? Is that something you can use?
I think that was probably a thing in her day, like before there were like these lotions and lubricants.
I will check it out and I will report back.
In the comments.
It's part of the After Hours show. Feel like I'm a little more up on this than you two.
I didn't dislike it.
I liked it. It's just like I like creature feature movies, which is like what you think you're getting when you watch this. But it's and while yes, it technically is. It's more of like about a guy and things like this, and there's so many sad downer moments in this that you could almost like put this into a different category because it's not that horrific in really any way. Like
you wanted
this is drama thriller-ish stuff. Yeah.
It's not that. It's a character study.
Yeah.
So would you, Stefan, recommend Willard to people that haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, it's something to definitely see once. I think it's an interesting film at the very least. It's something you will walk away with a feeling, which is more than a lot of movies will do for you. So that's it's something in itself. And like there are some cool moments with rats and stuff. And I would love to have seen the behind the scenes in this, which I don't even know if we're on the DVD, but I didn't look. There's probably a lot of really interesting stories on the set of this because there are hundreds of rats just all around, interiors and exteriors. And I'm like, I wonder how they did that because rats don't live that long. There's not a whole lot of time you can train a rat. Like I think at most like 3 years. So like you got to think like, are these all Hollywood stage rats that are perfectly performing, or did just things happen and they caught things? I don't know.
He said during an interview with Conan O'Brien that they had one specific rat that was one of the Socrates rats that was just trained to where when he had the pocket knife to his wrist, every time that it looked like it was getting too deep, the rat would run down. So, I mean, these were some, Hollywood
rats are
circus
smart.
rats. Yeah. But, I mean, think about the fucking conditions, because all that rat shit everywhere, how much of that was fake and how much was really just rat shit everywhere?
It's probably real. Or are they super trained rats and there's a litter box offset and those are all just dried up raisins?
Ugh.
I think you might be able to litter train rats, actually.
Really? Yeah.
It's possible. Never
Chris.
tried.
Chris, you seem to be poo-pooing, good transition, good segue. You seem to be poo-pooing on this a little bit more than the rest of us. Would you recommend this to other film folks, and who would you recommend it to? Who do you think would like this film?
No one. No, I don't know. I think it's got shades of a lot of things to like about it. I'm ultimately not completely satisfied with the ending, but like it's got that mainstream appeal with its look and its production values and its style in a way. The Tim Burton-esque, the budget Burton story though just didn't go where I wanted it to go. It was okay.
We didn't really even talk about the music that much, but it
Budget
was
Elfman, yeah.
Yeah, it was Shirley Ann Walker. I don't know a lot of other things. I think she does a lot of DC movie work. She actually did The Invisible Man as well. But yeah, it sounds very it sounds in between Tim Burton and like the Reanimator score, which is in itself is a ripoff of the Psycho score. So in the opening credits too, I was fortunate enough as a kid. My sister worked at Disneyland. We lived in California, so I got to go like to Disneyland like it was the mall, and just that it has that quality of it was like the Snow White Scary Stories ride where it has that little kid dark fantasy thing to it, almost like a Grimm's fairy tale. So if that's the tone that they were going for, whether it be on purpose or not, I felt like that rang true. So that's who I would recommend it for, people that like those like dark grim fairy tale movies, and just someone that wants like a palate cleanser. Even though it's not an inherently super fun film, it's different enough. The stakes are super small. It doesn't have huge action set pieces. It, like you said, it's just a couple locations, very self-contained. I think it's different enough to where I would broadly recommend it out to horror genre fans. But yeah, thank you both for joining me to talk about Rats and Willard and Crispin Glover. I don't know if we'll be talking about him again. He's not in a lot of stuff, and probably for pretty good reasons. But Mr. Stefan or Just Daggers, and you're a man of many names. Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Just Daggers at YouTube, or of course Cannibal Video at YouTube. www.cannibal.video.
Chris Defer.
Bad movie night.
Yeah, it's where it happens.
Where it happens. Shit goes down. Crispin's going down. I like that name. I don't like that name, but I kind of like that name. Crispin.
Start over. I'm almost done.
One thing too is before we go, there's something to be said where he has the same intensity and he does the I'm making my face shake to when he's like in some real peril to when he's getting a cup of coffee. That level of dedication.
That's just him, dude. I'm telling you.
That's Crispin.
This is Crispin Glover. Never want to be in an elevator with Crispin Glover. I'm at Jon the Host. You could follow us at Jon the Host, or you could follow me at Jon the Host. You could follow this very show at The Cult of Films. I'll be uploading it to all your favorite podcasting sites like Spotify and iTunes. Leave us rat turds, rat traps, or just leave me a Ben, because that rat is just so cool, and it could probably feed my family for a year. But until next time, do we have a good outro for this?
Keep it on.
I thought we were friends.